Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to show you a Dokidoki hell4 guide using only SR characters. Why am I showing you hell4 and not Inferno? The reason for that is because I see there are still a lot of people struggling to do the hell stages. And so I'm going to have to show you a different strategy for hell4 and Inferno, especially with the equipment that you use. Because if I'm doing an Inferno guide, I'm going to have access to all these equipments. So the stuff that I'm going to build for Inferno is not something that you can easily build to do Hell 3 and Hell 4 because you won't have that. So I thought the best thing to do was to show you this and then talk about how you can scale that into Inferno after. I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategy first. So this strategy is going to kind of center on two characters. The first character is actually going to be her. Kazuo, is it Kazuo? I don't know. Whatever her name is. This green character, what I'm basically trying to do is to spam this skill as much as possible. So you're going to be sleeping the enemies, which is obviously going to decrease the damage that you're taking. And because of the special effect of the stage, once you afflict a CC, which sleep slumber is, once you afflict sleep on them, their defensive buff that they have go down, which means that you can do a lot more damage on them. So one of the main things for this strategy is to use her, cycle her as much as possible to inflict this. And that is the reason why I have this timeless time weave module. As you can see, it's maxed, so there's a 35% chance to reduce the cooldown by one turn. And I'm also using this shell, which also gives you an 80% chance to reduce the cooldown of one skill. So this means that she should hopefully be using this skill every other turn, but there might even be times where you can actually use the skill, one turn right after the next, because you can get one cooldown from this and one cooldown from time weave. So that's the first part of the strategy. The second part of the strategy is actually one I think a lot of people have built, which is Dieting. So he is going to be the main and only damage dealer in this team, and he does only single target damage. Like there's other characters, like for example, Yelly, which is also a very good single target damage dealer, but she will not work for this strategy simply because one of her skills is AoE. So I am only focused on characters that can only do single target damage. That way you don't wake up the other characters that are sleeping. So you are taking drastically less damage by only using characters that can attack only single target. And he is, a lot of people use him across so many different stages. He's the best damage dealer for an SR character, and sometimes his damage output is even better than SR characters. So he is great. I'm going to show you something, but I want you to pay attention that what I'm doing is not optimized at all. One of the things that I'm going to point out right away, this is a very bad shell for him. But the reason I'm using this shell is two reasons. First, I want to use a shell that only has two modules. Like I don't want to do this because all the White Fang shell that I have has three modules already. So if I use that, you're going to say, hey, yeah, that's an awesome shell. I wish I had that. Yeah, of course. Right? But so I want to use something a bit more realistic, but I don't want to invest in another White Fang just for this. So I'm just using Revelation. But the second thing I want to tell you is that this is so unoptimized. Like Revelation's effect is not so great for him at all. So if you just switch from using Revelation to White Fang, your damage output is going to go up a lot, right? And when if you look at the what is it, the passive effects on this, okay, 13% attack is great, but it can go all the way up to like 50, right? Sorry, not 50, all the way up to 30%. So there's a lot that I'm leaving on the table, which if you invest more in the training data, you can farm training data, and you don't even have to get to 30%. Even if you get to like 20%, that's still a lot more. And same with the crit rate. I'm using crit damage, but if you have crit rate, it's even better for dieting, right? And again, this is a purple one. It can go all the way up to red. And this thing, he doesn't even get any benefit from this at all, right? Like he's not going to be the fastest. There's, and you're also trying to increase his damage output, not really try to reduce the damage taken. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a very ineffective shell for him, but I'm just using a shell. And if you do make the switch to White Fang and get better passives on this, he's going to do so much more damage. Compared that to something like this, right? Like 26% attack, a lot more speed, 10% odd damage. I mean, this is not really for him. This is actually for an odd character. I just happen to have it on him at this point. But you know, you can increase Dieting's damage so much more by investing in these and using the proper shell, right? So I'm going to talk about Dieting and then all the other characters, and I'm going to show you their full builds to show you that the build that I'm using is not optimized at all. I've only tried to make one full module set. Like for example, in this one, I have Kenai 12. Everything else is like, I don't get an effect from it because everything else is 2 and 3s. So I'm trying to show you that this is kind of something that you can make with 2-star sets, because even if you're using a 2 or 3, let me try to find something that's 2 stars somewhere around here. I think I sold all of them actually. But basically, the crit rate goes up to 40%. Even if it's 2 or 3 of these module things, as long as it's a red thing, it will go up to 40%. So the stats that you gain from it should be close. What you will not get from 2 and 3 stars is this effect. If you have the 3-star thing, then you can have two 12 sets. Like you can have 12 Onslaught and 12 Kenai. And if you have 12 Onslaught, that's an extra 45% attack. So that's like drastically higher damage than if you were only limited to using these 2-star sets, right? So that's the reason why I'm using mismatched sets and only used one full set. So Kenai is the full set I'm using, which is going to give him extra 18% crit damage and also do 25% damage on his first hit and 15% damage on his second hit. And most of the time he will only do either 1 or 2 hits. So this is the best set for him, in my opinion. Next, I kind of already touched on this, but I'm using Time Weave here to reduce the skill cooldown. I also need accuracy to be really high. So all these 3 has to be effect accuracy. The second thing that you want to focus on after effect accuracy is speed. So because you want her to cycle her speed as much as possible, cycle her skills as much as possible, and take a lot of turns basically. The third character that I am using is hold on, where did she go? Her. I did another guide talking about her and why I think she's so powerful. She is very easily able to give your team so many more turns and also give an attack boost. And the secondary effect of her attack boost skill also gives her extra movement, like, you know, turn meter, whatever. So so she is the third character that I'm using. If I'm looking at the modules, again, only Swift Rush is maximized. For her, I really want to focus on speed. And actually, let me just go back and show you the skill levels as well, because I think that's also important. For the skill levels, I think the main priority is Dieting, but I think a lot of people that have Dieting now and are using Dieting usually have maxed, you know, all of his skills or very close to maxing his skills. At least the third and second skill is maxed. For mine, I maxed all 3. If you haven't maxed him and you're working on him, I would go with skill 3 first, max skill 3 first, then skill 2, and then finally skill 1. For her, this is the main thing that you really need to skill up, the skill 3 one. The reason for that is because it will reduce the cooldown from 4 to 3 turns, and you want to cycle this skill as much as possible. So this is the main thing you really want to focus on. After that, if you have skill left, I would go for skill 1, because this can also, you know, when you're casting this skill on enemies, they will, you know, the slumber effect is good, right? Just in case, like for example, say that this skill happens to miss whichever enemy you're targeting right now, and they will not have the damage decrease buff negated, right? So at least on her next turn, if this skill is not on cooldown, at least she has a high chance to cause them to fall asleep with this skill, right? And that chance goes up to 30% when you get this to level 3. And there are a lot of other stages that I'm using her as well, and using her skill 1 maxed, which gives you 2-turn duration of slumber, is really helpful. So I would go with this one first, then this one, and then finally this one if you have enough purple lattice to give to her. But that's the order that I would go in. So this one first, this one next, and then this one. Then for her, this is really all you need. You just really want to focus on the first skill. Sorry, not the first, the third skill. You want to have this maxed out. This one, this is what I would focus on second. for a PvE situation. I just didn't get to it, and I don't have any more purple lettuce to give to her. But this is what I would focus on next for PvE. I went with this skill instead because I'm actually using her for PvP as well. And when I'm using her for PvP, I need her speed to be, as high as possible. So that's why I only actually went up to here, which lets me unlock these two speed nodes to give me an extra 12 speed. But that's the third character. The fourth character I'm using is her, Valerian. For Valerian, I just need the skill maxed out. Actually, you don't even need the skill maxed out because most of the time you're like usually this skill is good to have maxed out because a lot of bosses will attack you on the very first turn before Valerian takes a turn, and sometimes it might kill you. So this is good to have for that. But for this stage specifically, there's really no chance of enemies one-shotting you before Valerian takes a turn, in my opinion. Like, it's very rare, especially at hell4 stage. So this is not even needed. You can actually leave her completely unskilled. It is helpful to have this maybe at level 4 to give her a bigger shield amount. But other than that, I mean, you can probably get away with having her completely unskilled. For the modules that I'm using, I have Wellspring maxed out. You want as much health as possible. Everything else is just a mismatched set of stuff. Um, we'll go through the shells after. The last character that I'm using is her. For her, you can probably again get away with unskilled. I've been using her a lot, so I really, across a lot of stuff. So I have put 4 lettuce here and 4 here. So skill 3 and skill 2 maxed. These are the modules I'm using, very similar to Valerian. Wellspring is maxed, everything else is just random. Now for the shells, like I told you, this shell is very unoptimized, but that's what I'm using. This one I think is kind of important for her to get the skill cooldown as less as possible. For her, I'm using this one because I want to increase the number of turns she can do. So I would, if I can't use Gigabyte, I would probably use something like a Black Flag, or I would use Jackal, because those would increase the turn meter, right? This gives you 25% turn meter. Jackal also increases turn meter, but I think this one is probably the best when it comes to turn meter increases for PvE situations. So that's what I'm using for her. For Valerian, I'm using Artisan because it gives you another layer of shield, helps your survival a little bit more. And finally, for her, I'm using Black Flag. This is not really the best choice for her. It's better to use something like this, which increases the heal amounts that you can do. But this is, as I said, this is not exactly optimized. I'm just using, you know, random kind of, not really random, but some unoptimized stuff, so that if there's a part of this that you're struggling with, if you even increase a little bit, like for example, instead of Black Flag, if you use a healer shell, then your run is going to run a lot more smoother, right? So that's why I'm intentionally using the stuff that's not the best, even at this, like, with hell2 equipment. So that's it. I'm going to show you how this run works. And if you pay attention, actually, everything that I showed you, they don't have any AoE attacks. All the characters that I'm using, single target attack. She's the only one that does AoE CC, and then after that, single target attacks. Um, who else? With her, again, single target attacks. And finally, Valerian also has only single target attacks. So everyone uses single target attacks. So if you're trying to use other characters, make sure that they have, if you want to replicate this strategy, make sure that they're only able to do single target attacks. So a lot of people are very into using Lily. If you're trying to use this strategy, Lily is not going to work. The reason for that is because if you're doing it on auto, she's going to use this attack and AoE everyone. So even after you sleep everyone, Lily might take a turn and disturb everyone else, so they will still be attacking you, right? So, I mean, and maybe that's okay. Maybe your team is strong enough to survive getting attacked by everyone, and so maybe that's okay. But specifically for this strategy, I'm actually trying to focus on taking them out one at a time and keeping your team alive by keeping enemies sleeping every other turn. Another popular character is close. But close also, again, similar problem. If she uses this attack, she will attack everyone, right? This is an attack that does AoE damage to everybody. So for this specific strategy, all these like really nice and shiny SSR characters might not actually work. And maybe it's okay because, you know, with Lily and Close, obviously you can kill these guys a lot faster. So when you're killing these guys a lot faster, maybe in that way you're taking reduced damage anyways. But for this specific strategy where you're trying to keep them sleeping every other turn, those characters are not working. So with that, let's kind of get into this run and see how it goes. I tried this run out a couple times and it worked without, you know, any deaths, but it is possible that, you know, it's not 100% win rate, and the reason for that is because when you get to the next stage, these enemies might target your DPS. You only have one DPS. They might, whenever they're awake, maybe on the first turn or something, they might just attack your DPS and the run might fail, right? So I don't expect this to be a 100% win rate scenario, but I think it's pretty good. If your DPS does die, you do have a person that can revive them, right? And you also have Valerian as well to kind of save him the first time if he happens to die. So with that in mind, I feel like this is a good team to kind of start tackling this. And as I said, there's a lot of stuff that I'm using that is not optimized for this. So you can scale, you know, if you're having trouble with the hell4 stage, even using this exact setup, there's still a lot more room for improvement. And then if you want to go into Inferno, you can use the twin sets, right? Like you can use, for example, Onslaught and Kenai set, which is going to increase your damage a lot more than what I'm using. So this can be eventually scaled to the Inferno stage as well, right? But yeah, so far, I mean, this seems to hopefully kind of work. There's actually one main turning point here. When Kazuyo uses her skill and gets everyone sleeping even once, usually after that you win, right? So I think the main dangerous part of this is the very first turn where Kazuyo's skill might be on cooldown when you go to the next stage, or it might be that the enemy, what's it called? Like Kazuyo, even if it's not on cooldown, maybe all the enemies go and attack first before Kazuyo takes a turn. Like that's usually the most dangerous part where you might fail the run. But if she's able to get her skill off even once, usually you're probably going to succeed. And the reason for that is not only is she sleeping them, but she's also doing an AoE attack down debuff on the enemies as well. And those last for 2 turns, and she has a pretty high accuracy, you know, her accuracy is pretty high. So she's usually able to land that debuff on them. So even if, you know, every other turn they're awake and they're all attacking, their attack is usually nerfed because of the attack down debuff that she is applying on them. So usually that one turn is usually the time where you're most likely to fail if you are going to fail the run. But if you get past that and Kazuyo is able to apply the debuff on everybody, then, you know, it should be kind of more smooth sailing from then on. So anyway, let's see. So we're almost done this stage. These runs are obviously going to be a lot slower than some of the more meta strategies where you're using Lily and one of the SSR damage dealers. But I think for people that are struggling with this, I think this is a pretty good setup that you can use. Okay, so here is the most dangerous part of this whole thing. I don't know if Kazuyo is... Oh, okay, so she was able to cast a skill. And from now on, you should be able to win. That was the most dangerous part of this whole thing. Everyone else is sleeping, as you can see. And even if they're not, like, even if my damage dealers went before, they would have only targeted the person on the left. So, yeah. So it should be smooth sailing, but it'll probably take like a couple of minutes to actually go through this run because it's not the fastest. There's no AoE damage to attack all of them, like what you can do with Rosa or any of the other AoE damage dealers. So this run does take a lot more time to do, but it works, right? And I think that's what you kind of need, especially with the 2 times event that's coming up. Like it'll be better if you can farm hell4 than hell1 or hell2, right? So there's a huge difference between Hell 1, Hell 2, and Hell 4. So I'm hoping by showing you this, today's what, Tuesday, and the event is going to start on Saturday. Hopefully from now until Saturday, you can farm stuff to get this kind of thing going. Purple lettuce farming might be tough, obviously, because there's very limited sources of that. But thankfully, the two like there's only a few characters that you need to have full purple lettuce. Like one of them is Dieting. Then you just need skill 3 on Kazuo and a skill 3 on I forget the pink haired turn buffer. I forgot her name. Chaiki, I think. I don't know. Whatever her name is. Those are the three characters that you need lettuce for. And for Kazuo and the turn buffer, you only need skill 3. You don't need the other skills to get started on the strategy. Um, but yeah, that's it. I mean, the other, so I told you one time where this might fail was at the very beginning. The second time, the other time that this might possibly fail is at the very end when you're stuck fighting that giant boss in the middle. Because Dokidoki is going to keep on buffing his attack higher and higher and higher. So if you don't kill it fast enough, it's possible that he might just one-shot your DPS, right? So that also becomes a bit of a that's also a small chance to fail. But if you are struggling with that kind of DPS problems, as I mentioned, the shell that I'm using, there's so much more damage potential that you can possibly give Dieting with that, right? Um, so if it doesn't work, if you find that you're failing more often than winning, you can use the shell to give him a lot more damage to hopefully kill these things even faster. But that's it. So we're almost done. We're down to the last monster. Again, this is depending on how many buffs this thing gives him. It could be a bit problematic, but hopefully we can seal this and finish the stage. We hit that thing for 22k. It's crazy. So if he didn't have that attack buff, sorry, the attack debuff on him from Kazuo, that would do a lot more damage, right? Because that is reducing the damage by, I think, 40%. Yeah, 40% down. So, and you can see that if it didn't have that right now, Dieting would probably be dead, right? So, um, it's great that we have that debuff on him. Okay, just a couple more rounds of Dieting attacking this boss, and hopefully it should be dead. Let's see. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I hope this helps you guys. I think it's pretty important to at least get to hell 4. From hell 4 to Inferno is like a whole different beast, but getting to hell 4 should I think it's a bit important to get you started on progression. And I see a lot of people struggling. They're at hell 2 and they're like, I've been at hell 2 for like a week and have no idea how to progress. But I don't think people are talking about like this strategy. I've always seen people looking at AOE heroes for Dokidoki. So I wanted to point this out. And dieting is something that a lot of people have already built out. So although you need a lot of lettuce in him, I think a lot of people already have invested in him anyway. So um, yeah, maybe the last thing I will do is talk about the right side, what I'm using on all of these guys, and which is important. For him, I'm doing crit rate, crit damage, attack bonus. You don't actually need the crit damage here. You can have crit rate, attack, um, because his crit rate gets transformed to crit damage anyway with his passive. For her, it doesn't really matter. I just found stuff that gives a lot of speed. If you are struggling, you can do like a lot of HP, or if you need an extra attack boost, maybe you can even give attack on the side. It doesn't really matter. The main thing here is actually speed. Valerian, the main thing you want is HP. HP bonus. This is the flat HP is not good at all, but again, as I said, I'm using not the best stuff, just something to show you this is the strategy. Make it better if you want to, but this is kind of how it works. For her, this is very important. You need effect accuracy on all three nodes because you want as much effect accuracy as possible. The nice thing is that the time weave also gives you an extra 18% effect accuracy as well. You really want something higher than 200% at least. The higher the better, in my opinion. And for her, again, HP on everything to increase the amount of healing that she does. And I believe that's everyone that I showed. So this is strategy. So how can you make this run better? What are replacements that you can use? I looked at a few heroes, and a lot of the common heroes that I would use, like for example this guy, they all do AOE damage, right? Like this guy, his skill does damage, so it's gonna wake up the enemies. So really, I think there's a couple of characters that I would use. And who would I replace? I'd probably replace Valerian. If I feel like I have enough defenses and nobody's really at risk of dying with the strategy, I would probably take Valerian out and maybe put in a second damage dealer that only does single target damage. A couple of options for that is maybe Victor. Victor does a lot of single target damage, and he only does single target damage. He doesn't do any AoE damage. Another option is, where did she go? Her. She also only does single target damage, and she is the correct, she is the, what's this thing called again? Hollow type. So she's actually a type to do more damage to this boss or these enemies anyway, right? So I would maybe consider doing one of these two. I'm not going to invest in these characters right now because I don't really need to. I've already done the stage with an AoE build, but I'm trying to show this for people that are struggling to get to this stage, right? So this is a strategy you can use, and having a second DPS like Hoyan or Victor or any of the other single target damage dealers. I didn't go through all of them, but there should be some, like maybe this one, is it? No, this is all enemies, not her. But you can go through them and see who else are single target damage dealers. Oh, this one is a good one. She does single target damage to one enemy and decreases the defense, and this is also single target, single target. So this is another option, and she is an R character. So this is another option that can work. Instead of Valerian, you can use her. So I hope I've given you some ideas on how to get to Dokidoki Hell Stage 4. And I hope that the builds that I've showed you is okay because, I really tried by not using full module sets to try to replicate something that players with, 2 stars modules will have. Like, I cannot use only 2-star modules because, first of all, I have to go and farm them, and then I have to spend a lot of gold to upgrade them, and that's just too much effort that I'm not going to be using. Like once I show you that, then what am I going to do with it? Okay, well, I guess I have to get rid of it now, right? This is way too much resources to show you a full 2-star build. So I'm hoping by showing you, I'm using 3-star stuff, but I'm using mismatched sets to kind of replicate what these 2-star module sets will be. So I'm hoping this is something that you can kind of work towards. If you find that anything I said is a bit unfair, that, hey, it's still too hard for me to get whatever I showed you, then please let me know in the comments and I can try to address that. But I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care now.